Teddy Blue has AADC deficiency. This inherited disorder affects the neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin that help our brains to work. Our brains are made up of lots of nerve cells that act like wires with electrical signals flowing along them. AADC is an enzyme found in the end of nerve cells. It produces neurotransmitters. When the electrical signal reaches the nerve ending, neurotransmitter is released and carries the signal to the next nerve via neurotransmitter receptors. If we look inside Teddy Blue's head, we can see what happens in AADC deficiency. There is a block in the nerve signal. In AADC deficiency, the AADC enzyme does not work properly, and very little of the neurotransmitters dopamine and serotonin are produced. This stops signals being carried between nerves. The block in nerve signals causes many different symptoms for Teddy Blue and all sufferers of AADC deficiency. Teddy Blue has a lot of trouble moving. He finds it hard to lift his head up. He cannot sit up without help, and he cannot walk or talk. Teddy has something called hypotonia, so he has very little tone in his muscles, making him very floppy. Sometimes his muscle tone can fluctuate and can suddenly contract or spasm, and Teddy has no control over this. This is called dystonia. Teddy Blue has episodes called ocular gyric crises that can cause his eyes to move into a fixed position and have an unusual posture for a long time. Teddy Blue can also have many other symptoms as well as the ones listed here, and these can sometimes be life-threatening, for example, hypoglycemia. There are some medicines that can help Teddy Blue with his AADC deficiency. They can be used alone or in combination. Let's look at how they work. If we look again at Teddy's nerve cells, we can see that there is a block in the nerve signal. Remember that the AADC enzyme is not able to produce dopamine and serotonin neurotransmitters. This also leads to accumulation of starting material that AADC uses. Teddy is given vitamin B6. The AADC enzyme needs vitamin B6 to work properly. Vitamin B6 can help Teddy's AADC to produce more dopamine and serotonin neurotransmitters that can then help transmit the signal to the next nerve. Monoamine oxidase is an enzyme that helps to keep dopamine and serotonin neurotransmitter levels in balance. Teddy's AADC produces very little dopamine and serotonin neurotransmitters, and monoamine oxidase breaks these down, so there is even less neurotransmitter available to transmit the nerve signal. Teddy is given a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. This inhibitor stops monoamine oxidase breaking down dopamine and serotonin neurotransmitters. This allows more of these neurotransmitters to be used to help transfer signals between nerve cells. Teddy is given a dopamine agonist. Dopamine agonists are chemicals that are very similar to dopamine. Teddy's AADC enzyme does not produce very much dopamine. The dopamine agonists can also bind to the dopamine receptors and help to transmit the signal between the nerve cells. Anticholinergics affect another neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine and dopamine are normally in balance, but in AADC deficiency there is an imbalance because there is not enough dopamine. Anticholinergics help restore this balance. Lenok acid is a chemical used by the brain for lots of different reactions. Teddy's AADC does not work properly and produces very little neurotransmitters. But this also means that the starting materials used to make neurotransmitters begin to accumulate. Teddy's brain finds ways to deal with these chemicals, but by doing this, he uses up his natural stores of lenok acid. Giving lenok acid helps to replace these lost stores. Melatonin is a hormone that helps to keep our bodies in a daily rhythm. Melatonin is made from serotonin. AADC produces serotonin, and then other enzymes use serotonin to make melatonin. In AADC deficiency, the AADC enzyme produces very little serotonin, and because of this, very little melatonin gets made. Melatonin can be given as a treatment and can sometimes help with sleeping difficulties in AADC deficiency. Teddy Blue is very lucky as the treatments are able to help him. Unfortunately, many children with AADC deficiency do not respond well to treatment and can be left with a severely disabling and sometimes life-threatening condition. The AADC Research Trust was established in 2006 to help children with AADC deficiency and is helping to promote new treatments such as gene therapy. The Trust is currently funding pioneering research using stem cell technology to help us understand AADC deficiency, and research into how the genetics of the disorder affects the AADC enzyme. As well as funding research, the AADC Research Trust aims to promote awareness of this devastating disorder and help support families across the world affected by AADC deficiency.